Yes, people, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Saeed TV. We are live for the Premier League debate show. We've got the panel here ready. Couple will be joining us soon. We've got man like Charlie representing Chelsea. Charlie, what are you saying, bro?
Yeah, I'm good, bro. Thanks for having me as always, man. I'm just glad we've got a game coming up again. This once a week's hitting hard now that the Champions League and all that started again, bro. It's a long wait. But yeah, no, I'm good, mate. And looking forward to hopefully us getting our second win of the season on Sunday because we need it desperately.
Oh, I'm telling you, man, we're the same with you, man. We're riding that kind of feeling, man. You know what I'm saying? We've got man like Errol chilling, Europa League, but you know what, man? Fair play. You're doing the business over there. You know what I mean? You're doing it everywhere, man. Fair play to you, man. What are you saying, bro?
Bro, rain, sleet, hell or snow, this Liverpool team right now are turning up, and that's all that matters for me. So I'm happy with what I'm seeing. We're getting the results over the line. So what, as well, everyone overlooks this point in the season, but this is how you build the foundations for your season. As you and Charlie have both said, you need the wins, you need the points on the board. And right now, I can't complain. Liverpool are doing their thing, bro. So I'm happy out here. I'm outside. I'm posted. I'm ready for the chat as always. Big up everybody in the chat. Let's go.
Yeah, nah, big up, man. Big up. Got man like Pete in the building. Newcastle need to build that Premier League form up, man. But Champions League, you know what? Fair draw, man, at Milan, man. Listen, I know a lot of people saying AC Milan should have won the game, but listen, you got a draw there. Must be happy, man.
Very, very happy. Not gonna lie. I'm sure we'll get into it, but yeah, good point. Always good to get points on the board beginning the Champions League campaign. So it's nice to do that away at the San Siro. But big up to everyone in the panel. Big up to everyone in the chat. Jordan Tune for Life, Lisa repping the Newcastle end. So yeah, all good.
Big up, Lisa in the building. Daps is here, chilling, relaxing. You're in Manny. Tomorrow you got a game against Forest, I believe.
Two times Champions League winners. 2 times Champions League winners. Big game.
Yeah, big game, man. Heritage fixture, that one. You know what I mean? Now City have won the Champions League, man. You got to put yourselves in there. You know what I'm saying to you? So
it's
big up to you.
It's beautiful to be here. Beautiful to be here.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We got man like Lee in the building, North London Derby. You must be busting a gut to get this going, innit?
Bro, I'm calm, man. I don't know why everyone's so hyped about it. I think we're gonna smoke them, so I'm quite calm.
Bro, you're gonna.
Hey,
bro, by half time.
Energy, you know, Lee.
I hear it though. These Tottenham fans that seem slightly confident, I do not get it. Yeah, I do not get it. I think Arsenal have this game wrapped up by half time. Real talk. I don't get it. Don't get it at all.
I don't think it's going to be a walk in the park. But hey, I haven't got a horse in the race, so I'm just sitting as a neutral, licking my lips, thinking, "Yo, we're going to go second and just be calm because someone's going to drop points."
Oh, that suits you second, actually. To be fair, suits you still.
If for right now, yeah, I'd rather be chasing than leading.
Yeah.
Okay. I like this, man. Big up to everybody who's here. Make sure you do hit the like button on the video. That'll be great. You know what I'm saying? To helps the algorithm out massively. But I want to start with Odegaard. I want to discuss it. Got a new contract today. And I want to this kind of debate where he ranks in the Premier League in terms of midfielders. Is he one of the best in the midfielder? Is he the best midfielder right now in the Premier League? I know there's Rodri, there's other midfielders out there. Szoboszlai is playing well this season, but are we looking at Guneli, Odegaard as the best midfielder in the league? Is he kind of established? Should he be more respected, Lee? What are you saying?
Listen, I'm not gonna come in here and cry about it. I do think he is respected. I don't think it's one for fans where they don't respect him. I think he gets a lot of flowers, and rightly so. I'm not gonna go crazy. I think KDB for me, I can't look past him right now. I think he's absolutely immense. I'm not gonna add Rodri only because of the positions. That's the only reason why. But if you're talking about any sort of creative midfielder, I think he's right up there, and I think he deserves all the flowers he gets right now. We're definitely not going to talk about Enzo. I can put that in there for damn sure. We're not going to talk about anyone from Newcastle. And listen, Szoboszlai, my thing is, I didn't know much about him prior, so I'm not going to wax lyrical about somebody over 5 games. That is the only thing that I'm gonna hold and pause for now. We don't need to talk about from anyone from Man United. That is for damn sure as well. So let's just leave those 2 clubs out of it, or those 3 clubs, including Chelsea. And then again, you've got people like Bernardo Silva who have been there and done that. So the thing I like about Bernardo is he can play in so many different positions. You can play in left wing, right wing. He can play, in the center. He can play bloody 10s, 8. So I mean, one of my personal favorites is someone like Bernardo Silva, but I still have to give it up to the likes of KDB. But what I'm liking from Odegaard, and I know there's a lot of, there's a lot of conversations, Maddison against the likes of Odegaard, and Maddison against KDB. The thing that I really like about Odegaard and what he's showing is, the first thing, since he's coming to the league, everyone kept giving him a lot of stock, or saying that he can't do it against the big clubs. He's doing it home and away against them now, scoring goals, getting assists. He also gets a lot of slack and a lot of stick because, he didn't turn up against the big clubs. The only person I know that doesn't turn up against the big clubs is Bruno Fernandez. That's the only one. And my last point is, you can talk about all of these other players, but you now talk about a guy who's captain of his club, captain of his country. He carries his team through, and he does it in his own way. He doesn't have to be the main person who's shouting. He's not a Xhaka. But for me, why I love him and why I like him so, and I see him so much as an important person of the team, is because he's leading genuinely by example, and it's perfect. So yeah, for me, look, I think he gets all the flowers. I've heard Daps give him flowers. I've heard, other people, Kaz give him flowers for ages now. So I'm never gonna sit here and pretend that he doesn't get the respect he gets. But yeah, man, like he more than deserves his contract as well.
Do you know why? Do you know why he gets the flowers though? Because of the way he moves, and that's where I do get the similarities. We've got to remember he's younger than KDB, right? And but it's KDB is a very similar captain when he's a captain. He's not shouting. He's not that player, and they're just humble people. Like KDB, I think when he first arrived at City, his agent had to tell him to go and get a better car because he was just driving around in an estate, and he was like, it's just I guess the way they've been brought up, bro. I think. Yeah, I'm watching him carefully because I do. This season, he's pulling out in the big games, and that's the difference. That's what you need this season. What the difference with Arsenal is, when Saka drops off out of being burnt out or whatever reason, you need other people to step up and go, do you know what? Cool, I got this game, and he's one of them players that I think could be that guy.
You know what else is going in your favour as an Arsenal perspective there as well with him, Lee? He's already had the big move. He's already been in and around one of the biggest setups, and realised probably it wasn't for him, which is fine. Maybe
like KDB, bro. Like KDB.
He went early as well, didn't he? He went at 16 to
14,
15.
I was 14, man. Yeah.
No, he was in Norway at 14, and then he moved at 15.
He moved at 15. Yeah, that's the one.
He made his debut in Norway at 14. He made his debut for the national team at 15, and then he moved when he was 15.
Wow.
So I think
there's a lot of truth in once bitten, twice shy. There's this. I really believe in this once bitten, twice shy, and I actually think also there's an element of this with Mo Salah and Liverpool as well, because you got to remember Salah and De Bruyne both went to Chelsea, failed, went elsewhere, rebuilt, earned the move, and then it's like, do you know what? If I'm happy where I am, if I'm winning trophies where I am, why go for that? Because I've seen what happens. You go to certain clubs, and if the club is not giving you everything you need, you go there, and yeah, so I think Salah's another one like that, to be fair.
I think also the last thing I was going to say, I think the reason why Odegaard, and again, why I'm also not going to pretend that he doesn't get his flowers, is because we're all at a certain age where we love the romance of football and romanticize. And he almost is like that, the last of the dying breed of a flair number 10, like your Ozil, like your KDB. He doesn't seem as robotic, unfortunately, as someone like a KDB, where it's just he's been kind of talked about as spamming crosses in, which I think is crap. But like for me,
that's mad.
Yeah. Look, like that the whole tactical aspect of Man City's system is just spamming crosses in, which people have leveraged that KDB. But for me, I think he kind of does get a lot of loving because he is that flair lovely on the ball, like he's skilled, tight control. So yeah, for me, like I do think he gets enough. He gets a lot of respect by a lot of fans, and again, it is rightly deserved.
He's still so
Lee,
young.
it's
as well,
early
isn't he,
days, but
Lee?
let me
What,
ask-
24. So
Yeah,
many
he's
24, yeah.
so many years to improve. Like it's,
Yeah.
I mean, look, of course, when you've played so much football from such a young age, there's always a worry potentially that, you could get to 28, 29, then you might be a little bit burnt out or whatever. But like, he's got so much potential ahead of him. And look how good he is right now, the way that he influences games for Arsenal. His output is phenomenal as well. He's a captain. He's probably, outside of Saka, probably Arsenal's most important player at this point in time. He always delivers in the big games. I think he
possibly
is.
More. Possibly more.
Possibly more. Possibly more. I mean, look, he really is that important to Arsenal. And to think that, obviously we didn't know how good he was going to turn out at Arsenal, but you look back at it now, what, it was 30 or 35 million quid.
Listen, I said this. I was at
absolute steal in this market.
I was at AFTV on Wednesday for the Champions League game, and I said exactly that. Like how we got him for 35 million. I mean, you can talk about maybe right now, Basuma for 25 million looks like good business. You might even look at someone like Szoboszlai in a few years and say for 70 million pounds. But because of the low amount of money and how good and how effective and how transformative this guy has been to our club, it just looked. I mean, even Aguero for, I think, was it 50 million pounds you got him for? Like that was crazy.
There's a lot of City ones you can say in hindsight.
Yeah, like Akanji for 12 million. Like, so I mean, look, like I'm not going to sit here and pretend like we've not paid stupid money for a lot of players, but just on this player alone, for what he's done currently, I can't thank this guy enough. And he hasn't won anything. But
can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question? Right. And this might, I don't know if it'll be difficult for you or not, but there's an Arsenal player that you lot love, but for me represents the worst era of Arsenal. If you had to pick, like in their prime, as in their prime at your club, Ozil or Odegaard?
Ozil was in a team that wasn't, as I would say, function as this Arsenal.
But he was also lazy, bro. He definitely wasn't a leader. He was lazy.
When Ozil first,
for me, the better talent is Ozil. The better talent is Ozil.
No, I didn't say talent. Who's a better player? As a fan, who's the better player?
The first season, the first 2 seasons, people need to go. Ozil was unbelievable, and until Christmas, I think even Turkey. I was chatting to him the other day. Until Christmas, in the second season where we almost won the league, obviously Leicester won it. He was on course to break the assist record. He had 15 assists, and then Giroud.
When it didn't matter. When it didn't matter before it got to the crunch time.
Wow.
No, but at Christmas time, when we were top, everything was going good, and then Giroud started putting in disaster. He didn't score for like 15 games in a row. Like it was ridiculous. So I can't look at him and put it all on him. But after that, there was obviously times where leveraged at him. He didn't work hard enough. He wouldn't turn up against it was literally like playing against 10 men. And I don't know if you remember that picture of him in the yellow kit where it would literally be Ozil's body, but it was just like no face or nothing because he wouldn't turn up in the away game. So I mean, against Chelsea away, bloody just Liverpool away, he was just getting moved to. So yeah, overall, like Ozil is a better player, but I wouldn't swap him for Odegaard. I'll be honest with you.
But we're saying
that's what I wanted to.
We're talking about a player like Ozil that was further along in his progression in his career, as already been said. Like Odegaard is already 8 years deep into his career, but he's only 24, and he's almost had the opportunity to build and develop, but he's still really young that he can go on. I mean, if you go back to De Bruyne at 24 years old, like, is there really much of a difference in quality? If you look at both of those players at 24 years old, I'm not quite.
So if you go and look at KDB's, if you go and look at KDB's. Yeah, if you go and look at KDB's numbers, if we're talking numbers difference, but I don't want to do that comparison because then you might say with who he's playing, he had Aguero up top and he had Silva next to him.
Yeah.
It was a bit, but I hear what you're saying. I do hear what you're saying.
What I'm saying is there's still, I mean, what KDB now, what is he, 33? 33 now, 32?
32.
He's got so many years to progress. I'm not saying he's going to be better than KDB. KDB's one of the best.
No. I think they're different players. They are slightly. I think
that Odegaard's got the opportunity to go and progress his career and be one of the top players at Arsenal, the main man at top at Arsenal, because he's already doing it. As you've already said, he's providing moments in the big game. If he can continue to develop that over the next few years, you're talking about him in a different light.
And listen, look,
and
like,
do you know what?
Go on.
Sorry, I was just going to say with this thing, with what I've come to realise is when people compare Odegaard to De Bruyne, and when people compare like any player with a player from your club, I've realised it's not that deep. See it as a compliment. Like they're putting the bar and saying De Bruyne is the bar you need to aim for. For me, in the era we're currently in, Salah and De Bruyne are untouchable. As far as I'm concerned, Salah and De Bruyne, for the number of seasons they've been doing it, they've set the bar, right? And now they've coming of age, and it's for these new ones to come up, and they've set the bar. So I see it as a compliment. And also, I've got to say, Odegaard is 24. He's been captain for over a year now. That's commendable at that age. That is very, very commendable.
Yeah.
So
big up to Amar. He says here, Odegaard is not even as good as the dirt on KDB's football boots. Bruno is far better creative midfielder. Even KDB said he is far superior. You know what it is though? We need to start comparing the styles as well, because Bruno Fernandez
they're different,
and
innit?
KDB are volume players. They do spam the ball a lot. They do, with the way their creativity is, it is a lot of kind of like, I'm not saying it's hit and hope, but it's almost like there's a lot of volume in it. With Odegaard, for me, makes the team better. And I sometimes like that a little bit more. And this is why I do like Odegaard. It's that he makes the team better.
The thing is with Odegaard, everything, he is literally the hub. He is the chip of the team. Everything goes through him. He's a high volume player. He will pick the ball up from deep. He will pick the ball up and he will travel with it. He will create from the left. He will pop up on the right. He will do. He is everything. So it's not about the spamming that Bruno Fernandez does. I wouldn't put KDB in that position, but it's not about the spamming. It's more about how can I affect the game in any way, shape, or form to get the ball forward, to create an opportunity, whether it's the pre-assist or the assist, or get the goal himself. Whereas with KDB, he is literally all about service in any way, shape, or form for that striker, and he had such a connection with bloody Aguero. What's the other guy's name? What's the other guy's name he had up front?
Jesus.
Your guy. Was it Negredo for a period? On Negredo early doors, it would have been probably. I don't know if it would have been. No, I don't think it would have been Negredo. I think he came in back end. Would have been Jesus and Aguero.
He could have finished chances. That's the problem. That's why he got shipped out.
But I think what you're doing here is like, I've got this right. So I've always put David Silva above Kevin De Bruyne, right? And the numbers make it difficult to do that. But me personally, my favourite is Company, but the best ever City player for me as an actual out-and-out baller is David Silva. And he is more like a mixture of Odegaard and KDB. As in, he was the pass before the pass. He was the tempo setter. Whereas, like, the one thing I'm noticing with Odegaard, he's starting to get them goals as well, bro. He's starting to get them KDB goals from outside of the area where he knows what he's doing. So, well, look, like I said, KDB's the bar. I'm not seeing it as an insult. I think if Odegaard can do it for as long as KDB and Salah have been doing it, then it's a conversation. At the moment, he's just another young one that up at the moment. So,
let me ask you a question, Charlie. I know, listen, Enzo Fernandez, you rep him and that, but do you think Enzo Fernandez is slowly cooking? And do you think Odegaard is a lot?
He's not an attacking midfielder to start with, though. He's not like it's not.
No, but then you would argue. Odegaard is. Odegaard's more of an 8 than a 10 for me. He's almost plays on that left kind of 8 role. He's not more of an attacking midfielder.
He's an attacking midfielder, though. Odegaard. You wouldn't describe him as a defensive-minded player. He's an attacking-minded midfielder player.
I don't think Enzo is defensive anyway. Enzo's more of an 8.
Like, for me, he's not. Look, Enzo Fernandez is not. I mean, obviously, like, 22 years of age. Like, he's not scored. He hasn't scored a lot of goals. Obviously, once Caicedo gets up and running, he's like got that partnership in the middle of the park alongside him. Maybe we'll be able to see him get forward a little bit more. But Enzo has played in the 10 for the last 2 games with Chelsea, and hasn't been good because that doesn't suit his game. He's one of them that needs to pick the ball up in the middle of the park. His range of passing is phenomenal. He's not really like one of those players. Like, I couldn't really sit here and compare him to Odegaard because they're totally different. I mean, look, Enzo could develop and add goals to his game as he progresses as a footballer, but like at this point in time right now, that's not his scoring goals is not really a main part of his game. It's more the way that he controls the midfield, his range of passing, and that sort of thing, rather than assists and goals at this point in time. He could add it, but it's not the same thing.
When I look at Enzo, people won't agree, people won't see it, but I just think he's a very, very good version, or a better version of Jorginho. He is that deep line playmaker. He isn't somebody, and that's why I think people lose their mind about him, because they want him to be that creator, but he isn't that facilitator further forward. And that's why people lose their mind about him, because he's £100 million to be a deep line playmaker. You don't pay that kind of money for somebody, just the same way how you could say you don't pay that money for Declan Rice. But Declan Rice is almost being so transformative, even though he's a DM. But currently, for me, I look at Enzo and I think, look, I can do the shameless thing, but he isn't a 10. He isn't really even an 8. He is for sure. He's a 6, and I think he's the person who starts with
I
the
don't
ball.
think he's a 6.
He is.
He's not a 6, man.
He's a pivot 6. He's a pivot. He's a pivot with someone else. He's a pivot with someone else.
Okay.
And that's why people kept mentioning this whole, if we get Caicedo, it unlocks him, because he can travel with the ball. He can, progress to the ball forward, of course, but he isn't that person who is the person that's going to be that absolute sole creator of the team. That is not his role in the team, for sure.
I think I've been saying on Enzo, I think the biggest thing about Enzo, unfortunately for Chelsea fans, was his price. Because the minute a club pays a certain amount, right, there's things that you have to hit, right? Unfortunately, not me personally, but unfortunately, you have to either be getting GA. That's the easiest way. You get GA, there you go. You got to pass. Play average, but get GA, great. Secondly, if your team is winning trophies and you're playing a lot of games for that team, there's another pass. Cool. Your team's winning everything. What can we say? Thirdly, is that you're controlling the game, completely controlling the game. Now, again, unless you watch Chelsea week in, week out, it's difficult for, nowadays social media activists that want 30-second highlights. They don't see that neither, right? And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, let's see him put in some amazing defensive performances. We're not seeing that. And again, we've got Poch, who doesn't seem to trust anyone defensively, and they've gone out and bought 2 more DMs to play next to him. And I think what Lee said there is really, really valid about Rice. And you could put Rodri in there as well. That the difference with Rodri and Rice is they're now stepping up and single-handedly winning Arsenal and City games with big goals, right? Now, let me be clear. I'm a City fan. I watched Chelsea for the second time this season last week, so I can't talk too much on him.
But would you also say though?
Let me just finish. So what I'm saying is that as Chelsea fans, you're seeing things that you probably like, but unfortunately, in this day and age, it's hard for you. You have to find a way to defend this guy, and until your team starts winning or he starts scoring, it's hard to defend.
He's been in this
not
team
doing
since last
anything,
season, and he's not been in the top half of the table. He's not been. It's crazy.
But is it fair to say though
that
price? It's hard to judge this guy given he's not even been here a year? He arrived in January, so I think it's difficult to make a judgment on him when he's landed.
It is, but I bet you would not have given me that on Grealish, and that's the issue. The minute a price goes over 100 million, and I'm not here saying I think Enzo's poor or anything. I think, unfortunately, the minute a price tag is a certain amount, there's certain things you have to do because you just don't get that time. It's not good. It's not great, but that is.
If we were here in May having that conversation about Enzo, it would be a different situation. But the fact that he's had a full preseason and he started the season this season, and you're still seeing very similar performances now to what you saw before the summer.
Do you want to see, Pete? What do you want to see? Do you want to see him dictate games a bit more, show a bit of kind of impact in a team? Because I still think, for me, their midfield isn't balanced yet. He hasn't had the midfield that I think would work for him. I think, midfield's all about balance.
It's been slow start as well.
I think once you give him balance,
but I would expect him, regardless of who he's got around him, I would expect him to shine. So if he's playing with Gallagher and he's playing with midfielders that you don't rate,
like Bruno Gomes,
I would expect him to shine. But for me, when he's got Gallagher and that next to him, and now he's got Caicedo and Lavia around him, and now he's still playing the same for me. and he's not really being that shining light in midfield. And I think he's not being that shining light in midfield that you guys expected him to. Deep down, and I think for us on the outside looking at it, we're looking at it as well. For me, I think Chelsea are part of their own downfall because the fact that they were splashing money around is the reason why they ended up having to pay so much money for him. Because for me, he would never have gone. He would never have gone for that 105 million. He would have gone for about 50, maybe 60 million.
Like release clause, wasn't it? We had to pay.
You had to, and you know why? It's because you've been throwing your money around. So
we wouldn't have got him. We wouldn't have got him if it went to an auction in the summer, which it would have done. We wouldn't have got him. So we had to do it then.
Yeah, in this market, you know what? In hindsight, in this market, you're right. In this market, you're right.
But by you doing it, you broke the market for midfielders for a good 12 months.
It was a release clause, though. It was a release clause.
I know it was. I know it was. So you were bent over a barrel. If you wanted your man, you had to pay the price. It's fine, but because the pricing was the threshold was that high, you players, you can take a punt on a 35 million pound Odegaard. Not said that shots genuinely, you can take a punt to him. You think there's the potential, you think he can progress, you think he can bed himself into an Arsenal team. For 35 mil, that's a safe bet. How long have you had Odegaard now? 2 seasons, 2 full seasons. You think all right? No, he had him on loan first, didn't he? He was loaned.
1.5, you know. He was loaned for half a season.
It was loan first, and then it was what? 21, 22, 22, 23, and now it's 23, 24.
2.5.
Yeah, third full season.
You go into your third, fourth season, and now he's hitting the heights and giving you the performances that you expect to see week in, week out, though. So he's giving you that consistency, but you can gamble on him to take that time because the bag wasn't too heavy. It wasn't weighing around his neck. As soon as you slap, and as Dap said before, it's happened to every single one of our clubs. Núñez it happened to last season for Liverpool. Pepe it's happened to for Arsenal. You've had £50 goalkeepers and right back and left back that it's happened to at City. £50 million then. And then you had £100 million that took a season to bed in. You've had £100 million Pogba's and the next ones at Man U, Harry Maguire's. Every single club has paid what they felt at the time over the odds for the right player. Everyone around us now will say, even whether it went right or wrong, at the time, the manager wanted that player that they spent the big money on, so they had to back that decision. But you don't get afforded the luxury of time. You've got to hit the ground running. So where I see what everyone's saying about Enzo, I think for me, what I want to see from him is that ability to say, right, this is a brand new team with a brand new setup, but I'm going to be the leading light in it. I'm going to be the one that when the chips are down, when the lads are turning around looking for someone to say, who's going to be on job, I'm the first in line. And that for me is where he's lacking slightly. Again,
mentality, bro. The mentality.
Maybe that will come in time. But I haven't watched it apart from the game we played against each other at the start of the season. I've only watched it.
Odegaard built that though. Odegaard built that mentality though.
He was. I was about to say
Odegaard built that mentality though as well. Can I just say something as well? By the way, are we sleeping on Maddison as well? Because I feel like for me, if I had to pick one right now, out of maybe the Chelsea's, Maddison for me.
Let me just ask a question before you land that. Because Charlie, that game he was good against us.
Yeah.
But on his current form, would you slap £105 million down for him right now today?
Well, it depends what we're.
It was a release cost though.
Yeah, it was. I mean, we paid a little bit more than it to better payment terms or whatever. But it depends what you're looking for. If you're purely basing it on form right now, then maybe you would say no. But if you're looking at it over sort of the next 3, 4, 5 years with the potential that he's got and how good he could be in this team with Caicedo around him, with Lavia around him, with these players around him, then absolutely. But if we're purely isolating it on form right now, would I pay £105 million for Enzo Fernandez right now based on the first 5 games of the season? You'd probably be edging more towards no. Yeah. But I still rate him as a top player.
I had to say the same on Grealish. Bro, but I had to say the same on Grealish. There were times where I was saying, look, and that was a release clause as well, by the way.
Yeah.
And it was like, it is what it is, yeah. But now, in hindsight, it's like, okay, now I get it. But then release clause ones are hard, man. And I do get what you're saying about, and even last season, there were times where I saw he was a level above some of the players in your team, where I'd watch players, people would play the ball into him, and he would play one of them natural passes. You'll see De Bruyne play to Haaland, just knowing. You're a striker, you know where to go. And Enzo would play like a pass, thinking the guy that's just laid it off is going to do a 1-2, and the guy just wouldn't follow through, and it's like, oh, you're so levels behind where this man is. And I do think right. I also think Nkunku in front of him as well will be a game changer
Big
as well,
difference.
because then all of a sudden the pass before the pass becomes real, and things like that. So
There's some low key. There's some people that are going to be coming up, like the likes of obviously Nkunku. You know, Szoboszlai for me. Listen, I rated him.
He's one to watch. That's just all I'll say.
Are we starting to see?
oh, we
Are we
can just
starting to see
listen.
the
We can just
number
listen.
10s?
You lot are making enough noise about him. It's fine. We'll just listen.
No, but I feel like
You lot
now
talk about him.
we're starting to see midfielders now emerging now, and you know what? It's good for the Premier League, man. You know, I don't think Newcastle's ones have done well this season. Tonali hasn't really, for me, shown what he's about. I think Grammarish, I don't know if he's
5 games,
kind of
though, isn't it?
adapt. Yeah, but I get it. But at the same time, I feel like now it's about balancing it. Arsenal found a balance. United has still not found a balance. We still got Amrabat to come in and see what happens with there. Man City is Man City. Liverpool, I still think for me, there's going to be that one game where they get exposed. You know, I'm just waiting for that day to come. Right now,
we're praying for that one game, bro.
Man, you can't wait for it.
They're going to get. Watch this, yeah. I'm going to predict here this season. Liverpool will get beat 4 or 5-0, yeah, or something like that of that ilk, yeah, and watch their midfield just collapse. I'm telling you right now, this is going to be that one game where that midfield just goes collapse and it just shuts down and they get done over. And you know what? Let's just wait for that day. That's all I'm saying to people. That's all I'm saying.
Let me ask you this though. Be honest. The most of you are surprised at how Liverpool's results have turned out so far this season.
Yeah, I am. I'm not gonna lie to you.
No, I'm not, bro. I'm not.
Yeah, of course. You've been in tight race with
you are
them.
back to
I get it.
You're
Lee, don't fair play. Lee, you need to hold on.
That's it. That's it. Just at St. James's Park.
They're back. They're back to these being 1-0 up and me looking at the screen and going, yeah, no, 3-1. I've said it twice already this season. Yeah, I know, 3-1. I know how this ends, yeah. When people get hype and message, do you think? No, I don't think they're going to be able to hold on to it. But I'll be consistent with it. I know Liverpool. I know when they get confidence, they can go on games and unbeaten runs. This is what we know. For me, I believe this intensity of football, Klopp, new midfield, is going to end with injuries back end of the season. But until then, I think Liverpool will be fighting out with City at Christmas, and Arsenal I think will be there as well. It will be in the new year when the game time, and the fact that they've got 4 new midfielders that maybe aren't used to this intensity of football. Now next season will be a different story because they'll be used to that Klopp intense football. But I think that's what will stop them from challenging this season. But we know what Liverpool can do, man. We all know it.
Yeah. Listen, I think Liverpool, we'll see where they come.
I just wanted to hear you say it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, nah. But you know what, though? Obviously, you know what I mean? With the North London Derby, we're talking about games. Gunnar Lee, you know what I mean? Big Ange is talking the talk this week. He said he wants to scare Arsenal. You know what? When I look at this game, yeah, I feel like the script is writing for Arsenal to do Tottenham over. But I feel like there's something there, like there's a twist. And I don't think Tottenham fans believe in it. I don't know what it is. Maybe they don't, but maybe looking at the record and thinking, you know what, it's too much. 1 win in 10 years. But is there anything that you're worried about Tottenham? Like, is there anything that kind of scares you around Tottenham now and this team? Or is it same old?
You know what? It's funny that Daps is here because the same way how probably Daps feels when we've had some half decent teams and we've gone to Man City or they've come to us and think that we've got a chance, when in truth we know we've never had a chance, is exactly the same way how Spurs are right now. They've got a half decent team. They've had 5 games, and even so, let's look at those 5 games. Not all of them have been amazing. Yes, they battered Sheffield United. They weren't great against Brentford. I'll give them a
battered.
So
didn't they come from a goal down?
Yeah, no, they
they
absolutely murdered them in the game, and
did they? Okay.
Yeah, they did. They had like 26 shots on target or something. 26 shots, so it was crazy. But listen, for me, I have no idea what Spurs fans are on about with this whole hype. I think honestly, when you look at Spurs, I mean, they've not beaten us since 2010. And they don't even draw. We absolutely beat them every single time. It's not even like
against the worst Arsenals as well.
Against the worst Arsenals. They've lost Harry Kane. But now, look, they're a better squad. They're a better team. Now, am I meant to be worried about Richarlison, Manos Solomon, Kulusevski, and an almost finished Son? No. Against Saliba, Gabriel, Zinchenko, who's going to invert, and Ben White. No, I'm not. Now, I saw yesterday on Big Six, they was like, yeah, I don't know why Spurs aren't coming with more hype. I think that's absolute nonsense. People keep saying Arsenal haven't played well. We haven't had to play.
You haven't played well.
Wait, let me tell you why. Let me tell you exactly why. When the season before Liverpool won the title, they were going gun ho. It was 3-3-2s and stuff like that. Man City were doing it a few years ago, where they were not conceding many, but they were just going hell to leather every single game, wasting their energy. Arsenal, if you look at their games and you watched Arsenal properly, the Everton game was the perfect example, because I know you watched it, Saeed, and I'm sure everyone else watched it. It was a controlled, calm game, and that's what Arteta wants. He doesn't want people exerting too much energy, because it's a long season where we may play 50, 55 games. So now what we're seeing is we're seeing a different Arsenal. So what everybody keeps doing is they keep comparing us to the Arsenal from last season, where you're thinking, oh, we're going to go hell to leather with these teams, wasting our energy. And then when we get to the end of the season, we get tired. You see Saka dropping off. You see Martinelli dropping off. When you look at our games now, we're having 75% possession, 77% possession. What does that mean? We keep the ball. We don't have to waste as much energy. We keep the ball. We make everybody else run around. So when you look at Arsenal now, when we want to turn it up, we will. You saw that against PSV. The other point of it is, why does nobody talk about the fact that Jesus makes such a big difference to our team? Why doesn't everybody keep thinking that that was our team? We were playing with Nketiah, who is a good little substitute, but he's a completely different player for us moving forward. Now, you look at what Spurs are saying, and you talk about the striker, you talk about the manager, and you talk about this, you talk about how well he's done. Can we pump the brakes? Can we actually pump the brakes? Last season, I got told, after all of the amazing stuff Saka did, he's not world class. He's not this, because he has to wait for the. Why is everybody anointing? Why is everybody anointing?
So what do you think he's world class?
No, it doesn't matter. I don't want to concentrate.
So
I want to concentrate.
No, but then why are you going at people then for saying he wasn't world class?
My point is, you're missing the bigger picture. Is why if I can't wait, if I over a 2-year span I can't say things about a player, why is everybody anointing Ange as this new next messiah? Everybody loves him because he says mate and because he says these nice things. But is he actually a good manager?
Wow.
I haven't seen much from him. I actually haven't.
No,
I saw him open against Brentford.
That's wild. That's wild. You're being disingenuous.
Let me.
Go on.
He's not being disingenuous, you know.
My point is
that I've never heard Lee. No, Saeed, I've never heard Lee spit so much truth in all my life.
I'm being honest, right?
This is where I want to rein it in, because I agree with what he's saying to an extent. The extent where I think he said you haven't seen nothing from him.
No. But my point, I was going to say, I was going to say, and I said it on. You'll see it on AFTV. It's come out today. They have been good, but the level that they were at last season was so poor. Anything looks good to them. Anything looks good to them because they were so bad last season. Now, what I am seeing from them, and the thing is, what people don't look at, the thing I like about them is they're never giving up now. And you saw that against Burnley when they were 1-0 down. You're seeing that against Sheffield United, scoring 2 goals. Now, the reason why that means more to me is because Arsenal were doing that last season and we were getting laughed at. We were getting mocked because we were celebrating last-minute goals. And that's what means more to me. That's where I'm a little bit more fearful. But overall, can we put respect on Arsenal? Can we actually look at the record when they've had better teams? Can we look at the manager of Arteta? Can we because I'm not understanding why people keep making out that Spurs have a chance. Spurs, the best. They
can. It's a derby. Spurs can have a chance. Hold on a minute. I don't understand why you're undermining Tottenham Hotspur in this game when reality is they're in good form. The manager's had an impact in this team. He has had a clear impact. He had a philosophy now. Go on.
And I'll tell you why. Because they've only had 1 win in 20 years or something like that at the Emirates. They do not. They don't even.
Besides that, though. But you're saying about the manager, though. You're talking about the manager, what he hasn't done.
Besides that,
let me make this point.
But then I talk about my
team. Go on.
I talk about my team. I talk about my team, and I say, look, you've got their best position or best portion of their team is where the midfield. It's not like we got bums in there. We've just spoken about Odegaard. You've just spoken about. Well, we can talk about Declan Rice. Look at their attack. their attack will not do anything against our defense. It will be absolutely marshaled. We're at home, and our fans will not allow, and it won't happen. And they've got so many things with their team where you have to see to believe it. Whereas with us, we're more of a sure bet. So that's where I go with it.
Right. Let me
By the way, I don't love Spurs. I'm just trying to. I want Lee to be fair in his judgment. But go on, Errol.
No, I don't need Lee to be fair in his judgment. I want him to be biased. He's an Arsenal fan, man. Back your side. You get me? Like that's 100. My thing is where I'm looking at it from is a derby's a leveler. So same energy I would have if Everton were rocking up to Anfield. I don't expect them to win because they don't do that historically. But what I will say for a man like Ange, and where I will give him credit so far in his Tottenham tenure, is he lost Kane. Whether that was part of his plans or not part of his plans, Kane was Spurs. For a large portion of time, Kane was Spurs. And I had conversations with Tobes last season. I had conversations with other Tottenham fans that were trying to tell me that Tottenham can't bounce straight back without Harry Kane. They will have to go back even more. He was poor last season, but they was predicting that they would regress even more until they was able to find the players to come in and replace Kane with that money. He's managed to just soak up all of that pressure, absorb it, and dash away with it and say, do you know what? Kane's gone. But yous are all here. The lads that are here now are you're with me and we're going forward together. Instantly, he's captured the minds and the hearts of those players to the extent that they want to give, they want to run through walls for my man, and that's dangerous. So if you
the fans are all as well, by the way. Yeah.
You've got to respect it. So if it was me, I would pose the question not necessarily to an Arsenal fan, but to a Spurs fan. Is there a better time for you to play this Arsenal side right now?
No.
Let me land it. You've got your tails up. You're in form. Your manager's getting a tune out of you. Your new key players are performing for you, stepping up. You've got a new never say die attitude. And if you manage to beat your rivals that you don't historically beat at their ground this early in the season, who knows what your season will hold? That to them is like an early trophy. If they can do that, their mentality and all of the affirmations that they've been getting spoken into automatically just switches on and says, we're going to run with it now. Everything you've been saying, now we've got a result against Arsenal, you're the Messiah. I believe. I'm a believer. And that is what I would be fearful of. That is a dangerous option. Trust me.
But then the comeback on that is, and this is Lee, you were spot on to say about the whole City thing. Arsenal last season, when we were about to face them in the FA or Carabao FA Cup, right? Mm-hmm. We were in awful form. January City were very bad last season, like very bad.
Games are one-off.
Arsenal. No, bro, they're not one-off. Arsenal City, they're not. Yeah, because I'm looking at the span of City and Arsenal is very similar to the span of Tottenham and Arsenal. Yeah, as far as dominance, right? And you're right. You're right when you say that Tottenham are in better form than we've seen for a while. The fan base are backing the manager because he's brought a good style of football, and I get all that. I'm not knocking Tottenham, but same way we want to say, oh, is this the best time for Tottenham to play Arsenal? Arsenal just in their first game back in the Champions League, won 4-0. Right, that play, my best mate went. It was rocking, yeah, and they're. In their worst period, Tottenham could not rock up to the Emirates and get a result. But now we've got to expect, and this is where I look at Arsenal last season, where Arsenal were in their best period when they came to the Etihad. And we were in one of our worst, not where Arsenal were. Arsenal were in a better place than we were in January. And I was still like, they're not getting a result because it's just in their head. And all of that talk that Ange can do to the team, the minute someone goes, oh, by the way, our record there's, but the minute someone says, by the way, your record there's not good, bro. All of a sudden, that doubt is back in the head.
I don't know it. They can't hide from that. Now Kane's out the door. His thing is, fuck all of the old records. We're about to start. That same thing Klopp did at Liverpool.
Yeah. But what? Bro, he can want that.
You've won 18 trophies and titles. All the rest of it. It means nothing to you proper lads because you proper lads have done fuck all. Klopp sat everyone down. Big man. Yo, Hendo, sit down. James Milner, sit down. Mo Salah, he sat everyone down and said, you haven't done nothing for this team yet. So go create something before we can talk about something. And Ange seems to be, not saying he's taking a leaf out of his book, but he's got his own way of doing things, which may have similar effects on this Tottenham side. And we're just going to have to
I hope you're right. Bro, I hope you're right. I want Tottenham to win, but I'm sorry. I think by half time the game is wrapped up for Arsenal. But I hope you're right.
Wow.
I want Arsenal
For me,
100%.
There's two sides of it for me. With Tottenham, I think they are playing a better style of football, a style of football that's getting the fans up and excited again. Because let's be honest, I think we all saw it last season. The type of football they were playing was absolutely shocking. And I do agree to a point that seeing a little bit of an improvement is maybe seeing too much beyond what they're actually producing at the moment. I have to say, having watched a few of their games and looking at the fixtures that they've had this season, there have been favourable fixtures. Like you could argue this all you want, but Man United could have been 2-0 up at half time at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, but it turned around. They didn't put the chances away, and Tottenham punished them, and that's fair enough. It was a great win for them, gave them massive confidence, and let them build what they've built to this point now. But for me, this is the big test for Tottenham, not for Arsenal. Arsenal are there. Arsenal have already established, and for me, Tottenham. This is Tottenham's next run of fixtures, and where they start to play some of the bigger teams in the Premier League.
We'll see where they are.
That comment.
Right, you look at their fixtures, and they have been very favourable. They've played the likes of Burnley already.
Hold on.
Sheffield United already. They've played. They've had favourable fixtures. But
they've played the biggest team in the Premier League so far, isn't it? Side the biggest team in the Premier League, big Man United. Well, is that not the biggest? That's the biggest
original treble.
The thing is, though,
I wanted to say,
seasons. Go on, Pete. Sorry, bro.
What I wanted to say is more about Arsenal, and I've maintained this. I've maintained this like all the way through, and I said it to Potts on his channel as well. Everyone's been getting on at Arsenal because of the way in which they're playing this season. You go back years, the way they're grinding out results and getting results when not playing well. It's the one thing that Arsenal got hounded for years ago. Arsenal were always expected to play the fancy stylish football and win every match that way. They were always told under Arsene Wenger that they didn't have a plan B. They were told under Emery they didn't have a plan B. They were told in the early parts of Arteta they didn't have a plan B. What Arsenal are showing this season is they can play and win ugly and not play the fancy football. For me, I see that as an evolution of Arsenal this season, and I didn't expect that from Arsenal this season.
I promise you. I can promise you. I promise you.
If they can mix that grit and that battling performance like Man City do, because Man City do it. They grind and get results out when they don't play well. They get themselves over the line. If they can do that and mix that with the type of football they played against PSV midweek, then they'll be up there talking. And for me, I think Tottenham have got it all to do. I really, really do.
I agree that you've still got loads to do, but what's impressing me is that Arsenal will get up for Spurs, Arsenal will get up to play Man U, Liverpool will get up for playing City will get up for playing Chelsea, Arsenal. Like the big teams get up for playing each other, and the best team usually comes out on top on the day. The teams, the banana skins, that every single one, not so much in Man City, but they have their moments. They slip up against the teams that you should.
We've got a banana skin. It's Tottenham.
Tottenham might be yours. But there are teams that you look at and you think, on paper we're going to put them to bed this week, and it never pans out that way. You're always in for a roller coaster, and it always ends up being a scary ride. And sometimes you end up dropping points, and sometimes you just go the whole distance and you take the 3 points. Unfortunately for me, for where we're at right now, the thing that scares me about Tottenham is they're doing the basics right. They're getting the jobs done against the team they should be getting done.
The mentality as well.
And that's going to be
so amazing that you're saying.
So are Arsenal.
Hold on as well.
It's amazing that you're. It's amazing that thank you. It's 5 games. Nobody here thinks Romero is good enough. Nobody knows what Vicario is good enough. Can we not wait and see if Maddison? I always say Maddison is a great player, but I don't trust him when the chips are down in a game. I don't trust him to step up and be the guy to lead you forward. I really don't. I've seen him at Leicester.
Wow,
so for me,
he did at Leicester. Did he not do it at Leicester?
And as I said, let me talk. Let me look at.
No, but hold on a minute. Did he not do it at Leicester though?
No, he didn't. Not all the time.
You know what, Lee?
The chat are going to.
Yeah, big up Errol, man.
I'll catch up with you next.
Come on, my guy.
Take care, bro.
Yeah, man, love,
Last
bro.
one,
Come
bro.
on, man.
Lee, I disagree with that to a point. I think someone mentioned, I think it might be you, Saeed, that you know, didn't he do that at Leicester? Like, he did do that at Leicester. He was the linchpin of that team. And you know what? I think all that's been good about Tottenham this season has been because of Maddison.
Yeah.
I think Maddison has knitted them together. Look, we were in for him, and then we kind of stepped away through money and all the rest of it in the summer. I wish we'd have got him. We need that type of player in our midfield. I would have loved him, and I know what he's all about. He is a quality player. However, they're putting all their eggs, in my opinion, in that one basket. Now, the one thing about Maddison is that he doesn't stay fit for a full season. If he has any sort of injury of any note throughout that season, that team and that midfield and that knitting together falls apart. And I think you're going to see a different. I think you're going to see
doesn't do anything.
a Tottenham team without James Maddison, in my opinion.
It's pointless, man. You know what? Yeah?
Madison's a quality player.
Apparently, he doesn't do anything.
You know what?
Apparently, he doesn't do anything.
No, you know what? It's amazing when you're going to put up these stats to try and, you know, do this whole try and make Maddison to be somebody that he's not. Listen, at the end of the day, bloody De Gea was the bloody had the most clean sheets last season. So
No, forget keeper. Keeper's a different position to a player that you said hasn't done anything.
No. Hold on a second. I'm not coming here hearing people mention that because he's got 30 goal involvements. No. He hasn't. He's got 30 goal involvements. I didn't even say that.
What did you say though? What did you say though?
No,
when he stepped up for Leicester, he hasn't stepped up. What do you mean? The stats are there. And I'm not even a guy who does stats, by the way. But I'm just trying to say to you that at least the stats will prove it. That he has done something.
No, Saeed. I said when the big moments, that's nothing to do with goal involvements. He could have got 3-4 goals in a game. I don't know. He could have got 2 goals. When you look at Maddison, he will do a cluster of games of 3-4 good games, and then he goes missing. My problem is, as I said to you, I don't trust him when the chips are down for him to step up. Now you're going to talk about goal involvements. What does that mean? Because stats can skew certain situations. I get that. So for me, I talk about, and listen, people are going to talk about last season. I haven't even mentioned how he was taken out of the team because he down tools. I haven't even mentioned the fact that in the FA Cup semi-final, he was benched. I'm not going to even talk about those things. Why? Because I don't need to do that. I don't need to be shameless. But what we're not going to do here is make this into like a game that, Spurs. I'm telling you, so when Spurs next week, when we beat them, you're all going to be like, oh, yeah, I didn't believe it. Next week, in a couple of weeks, when Spurs are down in the dumps because they would have lost a few games, and
Are you landing? Are you landing? Are you landing?
And Ange Ball, no, and Ange Ball is on the decline.
Have you landed? Has he landed, guys? I still don't understand what you're trying to say here.
Do your thing, man. Anyway, listen. As I said, you lot
recognize
pretend
him, man.
You lot can pretend all you like, but we're going to beat them as per usual. And then what you're going to do is you're going to pretend that this is like, oh, you're shocked. I don't know why you're shocked. We're the better team, clearly. I think
you're going to win. Remember, I back you guys. I think Arsenal are going to win.
On this quickly, mate. Like, I think obviously Arsenal should win this game. They're 3, 4, 5 years or whatever it is into what Arteta's doing. Spurs are 5 games into what they're starting, right? But if Spurs can't have confidence or some confidence going into a North London derby at the Emirates now, when can they ever have confidence going into it? They've got to look. I'm not saying they're going to win or they should be getting ahead of themselves, but they've got to be feeling half decent about themselves, given the start to the season, given the confidence that's going through the squad. I'm not saying that Spurs are going to turn up and win. I don't expect them to win, but they should be approaching the game with the confidence that they can go and win. And, you know, as I can't remember who was saying it, but yes, the record's poor, no win since 2010 there.
Put that Daniela quote up, because don't pick and choose. Put that Daniela. Yeah, read that one out. Why don't you read that one out?
Leicester fans last year said Maddison was one of the players that let them down and didn't show up for games.
But bearing in mind, I'm in Leicester, so I'm in Leicester. So I speak to Leicester fans all the time. Yes, they did say that. They said exactly the same about Harvey Barnes, but it was because they knew that those boys were leaving, and they were hurt about that. That's why. And if you speak to many Leicester fans after the season,
can you talk on that then?
Talk
on this super chat. Talk on this super chat then.
They weren't just him though.
No, but usually start of any.
This is why it's annoying.
Which one?
There was individual
Which super chat?
mistakes.
What super chat though? You need to
No,
be
no, no.
specific. Read the name. Read the name so I can see that. Is this one here? Arsenal had an easy start.
The one before it. The one before it.
Oh, the one before.
the
Oh,
one.
sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't see that one. Sorry.
Yeah,
this
Madison bottled their top four.
and
back
who
to
did
back
they
six.
bottle it to? Who
Oh,
did they bottle it
it's an
to?
individual game then. What is it? What's it? An individual game now? Is it? Like what are we saying? I think Odegaard did the same for Arsenal.
You know what? Again, you lot can do what you're doing because you just put you put up individual stats though, right? For somebody, didn't you? You just put up individual stats for.
But that was in retaliation.
Again,
That was a retaliation. You said Madison doesn't do.
Listen, the joke of it is, the all joke of it is, you three know, we all know we're gonna win. Now, my position is now you guys think, oh, they should have some sort of chance, so they should believe they're gonna win. I don't know why. They haven't got a better team than us. They haven't got a better squad than us. They don't have a better manager than us. They do not have the record against us. They do not have anything. They don't have a better attack than us. We've got everything going in our position, in our favor. And ultimately, it's going to mean more to us because we're at home. The crowd will be on our side. We're going for a title potentially. They're not going for a title. So, of course, I'm going to sit here and think the best that they can do is hope that they don't get battered 3 or 4-1. That's the best. They can't hope for a draw because they don't. We never draw against them. We always beat them. We've had worse teams than we have, and they've had better teams, and they still don't beat us. So why would I not think we're going to win? It is ridiculous that you're trying to force this narrative that they have a chance. They don't have a chance. They have zero chance. Zero.
Yeah. No, listen, we'll see it. We'll see. I don't want to drag this on for too long. Listen, bro, I don't know, man. I'm just trying to put out questions out there and answers to what Lee was saying, and that's all I did. You know, Madison hasn't done anything. I showed him the stats to prove it, but it is what it is. I wanted to speak on Chelsea and Man United in terms of the joint struggle. I'll start off with you, Pete, and then I'll go to Charlie. But United and Chelsea, you can put them into one group, but this is a big, big weekend for them. You know, if it's either them draw, I think it's a disaster. You know, they need to win. I've never seen a much more kind of must-win game. It is a must-win game, isn't it, for both teams, United and Chelsea?
I agree. The pressure is. I think the pressure's been on for a couple of weeks now, but I think it's getting to boiling point, particularly for Man United, with Eric Ten Hag, because he's been established now for a season. He's there. He's had another summer to build his team, to bring his players in. He now doesn't have the same grace that a Pochettino does. Pochettino's only just through the door. He's only had one pre-season with them. Although they've gone and spent loads of money, a lot of those players aren't his. So he's still working with things. He's got maybe a little bit more grace. But Eric Ten Hag, for me, is under massive pressure. Am I right in thinking you go to Turf Moor? You away at Burnley?
Turf Moor, yeah. Massive game.
And we just talked about Tottenham. Tottenham went there and put them to the sword. So again, if you guys don't go there and do the business, not only are you going to get pressure from Ten Hag, but you're going to get pressure at the fact that other teams have gone there and got the business done. So for me, it is a massive game. And you're so disjointed as a team. I don't get it. Like, for the players that you've got, there should be a way of knitting them together. Eric Ten Hag has been manager enough a long time at Man United now to be able to knit that midfield together, and it's just not working. And I don't get it. Your defense was one of the strongest at the back end of last season. Now it looks like teams can get through at a canter and create chances. And the one thing that you haven't got, you got in a specialist with the ball in goal, but you haven't got a shot stopper. So you've given one thing up and got another. So you wanted your ball player, and Onana is that guy. But Onana is not as good a shot stopper as David De Gea. And this is what you're suffering with now, because time and time again last season, although he had some bad moments and he gifted some goals, he also saved you a hell of a lot of times as well, pulling out wonder saves. Onana isn't that guy. And you've kind of gave one thing up for another. And I think you're suffering right now. I genuinely believe that if David De Gea was in goal for Man United, you wouldn't have conceded some of the goals that you have this season. And I think he would have pulled out saves to keep you in the game in some of these games this season, including some midweek. Because some of the goals that Onana scored, I think Sorry, conceded.
Also,
I think
but
I've
also
been really
we're still, yeah, I understand that point. You make a good point there. But also, you got to realize it's still the same situation that we're having. We're facing more shots, and that should not have happened under Onana. We should be playing a more proactive style of football. Look
But
at the way Arsenal and Man
that's
City kind of
your defense.
evade. Yeah, evade trouble. You should be, I think for me, our kind of naivety at the back, but also kind of tense midfield and the fact that we're not balanced
He
in,
shouldn't
in
be
certain
facing
areas.
as many shots as he is, though. Like,
There
it's
you
too
go.
easy to get through the
That's what I'm
midfield.
saying.
The
Shouldn't
defense
be.
is the defense is leaky as well. But I don't think it helps that he's playing with like a different back four every week.
So we've had the conversation about Enzo Fernandez today, and we've talked about Chelsea's midfield. Yeah, for me, Casemiro, the experience, he came to Man United as the best defensive midfielder in the world at that period in time, in my opinion. Like, he is not nowhere near that now, and he saved you and carried you guys at long points last season with goals and being that guy. Like,
he's a liability now.
He doesn't look that guy at all from a defensive point of view. He'll still pop up like he did on Wednesday. He'll still pop up and nick you a goal here and there because that's just his way of playing. But actually, from a defensive point of view, that solidarity, that solidity that he normally gives you in that middle of the park, it just seems to have gone.
He needs someone next to him. He needs someone next to him. You can't go into games now.
Maybe he never normally has needed somebody.
No, but he's a bit older now, isn't he?
Because he's kicking on now, and maybe Eric Ten Hag could have seen that, or certainly had that sort of vision. But and maybe that Amrabat might be that guy once he's fit and he's ready to play. Maybe they do play alongside together. Maybe that was his vision. I don't know, but it doesn't look great for Man United. I do think you maybe will nick a win on Saturday and continue things on. But I don't think it will solve any problems by you getting this result. I think it will just drag on to the next week until the next issue comes along.
Listen, I couldn't care about next week. I'm focused on tomorrow. Like I said, tomorrow we need that win. I couldn't care even less about what happens next week, the week after. As long as we know we got the 3 points this week, I'm just trying to.
Everything I need to know about you, Saidi. The fact that you're taking this week to week. The fact that you're taking this week, man, tells me how you're feeling right now with your club.
I don't understand.
Tell me why Ten Hag was playing McTominay as a number 10 in midweek. What's that about?
I was gonna listen. I don't understand, right?
Listen,
I'll be honest. Like, I listen. People know my opinion. I don't understand why we can't just say what it is. The manager's crap. Some of your first 11 are crap. Some of these players don't know what they're doing. They haven't been sent out and done the right thing. Now you're going to keep mentioning all of these. Oh, we've got injuries. Okay, cool. You bought a player in your keeper who is at best good with his feet, but we don't know 100% how he is shot saving and saving shots. Okay, fine. So that's the first thing. You bought Anthony. Now it's not his fault that you paid £90 million, but the talent ID, it doesn't look to be correct. You've then done the situation with Sancho, which I believe was totally wrong. Well, how he's done it and how he's made it a thing which he shouldn't have. And you don't air your dirty laundry, and he has definitely made this into a situation. We then look at your midfield. You bought Mount. Now people can leverage the same thing at Arteta with Havertz, but you bought Mount, who clearly isn't good enough. Why do we need to keep? And I can keep going on. Lissandro Martinez, I know Saeed loves, but we're looking at this guy now, and people don't like it. Some people don't think he's good enough. Some people do.
What are you going to say? It's average now. Is that what you're going to say now?
No, let me finish. My point I'm trying to say to you is
that's the way you're going. Yeah,
my point I'm trying to say to you is you've got players in your first 11 who Man United fans and rival fans don't think are good enough. Your captain is the absolute biggest problem because he is horrible. He can't keep the ball. He doesn't create. He doesn't step up in big matches. And I don't want you to talk about him again because I've seen you cry and cry in every post match. So I don't need to see you defend him anymore. So now we talk about
Bruno Fernandes. No, I won't defend him. He needs to do better.
So my point now is we are now looking at your Man United team, and I can name personally about 4 or 5 of your starting players who I don't think are good enough. When you look at Man City, you can't really do that. When you look at Liverpool now, you might pick 1 or 2. When you look at Arsenal, you might pick 1 or 2. But the problem with Man United, you've got too many players. Some people think they're here, some people down here, and overall they're mid. they're they're not basic, but they're average, not good enough for Man United. Let's say that. Let me not say they're average, but they're not good enough for Man United. And that's the problem that you've got. You don't have a consistent 11 where I'm like, you know what? This team is going to fight hard, or this team has got creativity, or this team has got, all these, an abundance of something. And that's the problem you've got. So I can go through Anthony, not good enough in my opinion. Lisandro Martinez, not good enough in my opinion. Mount, not good enough. Wait, hold on. Mount, not good enough in my opinion. I saw your stream when you had your Man United fans stupidly calling Luke Shaw world class. Not good enough in my opinion. Malacia, not good enough in my opinion. Dalot, not good enough in my opinion. That's 7 players. And your keeper, I'm going to give him a little bit of a blind because he's come new to the league. But I can go on and on about your players who I can say that there's a lot of up and down, to-ing and throwing, peaks and troughs, and that's not good enough. So for me, your manager ultimately is another problem in himself. He comes out and he's talking about the left back of Davies or of Bayern Munich. I mean, have you seen Malacia? Have you seen Luke Shaw? I just don't understand him. And
I think for me, because Dutch people are so honest, I think his comment got blown out of proportion. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Have you watched it?
I see the quotes. I didn't watch the game, so I don't see his body language. But I do think Dutch people are too honest, man. I know Ten Hag.
Saeed, I'm telling you for your own good, this guy is not good enough. Your manager is not good enough.
Well, how are we saying? No, but the thing is, what happens in the fan base here? We get reactionary and we say something isn't good enough. But then last season, or just even not even last season, a couple of months ago, no. We were waxing lyricals here.
No, I wasn't.
You know what? Ten Hag's done a fairly good job.
He did a good job last year.
He did a good job last year. He got third and he won a trophy. Some clubs weren't doing that last season. Some clubs didn't even win a trophy last season. Yes or wrong? Yes or no?
No, hold on. Saeed.
And now all of a sudden, we're having this big reaction. You're saying it's not good enough. Saeed, you can't be like this, bro.
Wait, hold on, Saeed. The overall grand scheme.
You can say his flaws are emerging. What about you can say his flaws are emerging? That's a fair point.
Saeed, let me just look at the overall, and I want everybody in the chat to really think about what I'm saying to you. The overall landscape of a manager, style of play, he hasn't implemented one in over a year. His actual tactics, he hasn't implemented anything in over a year, or he actually wants to be the best counter-attacking team in the world, which is poor for Man United. I think about the bloody players he's brought in, not good enough. Pretty much all of them have been not flops, but not good enough. He's renewed players that aren't good enough. Some of the players that was from the board. Overall, there's nothing that he's excelling in. Now, he's won something, but if you look long term, the long-term objective is you brought this guy in, you thought there was going to be triangles, you thought he was going to bring in players from, that he's worked in, that there was going to be amazing. There is nothing that he has currently done other than win something, and Arteta's done that, and you still don't rate him. And he spent money. He's had everything he needs to some respect, and he's also doing it.
He's also phase 2 in his process, as your Arsenal fans would say. He's also in his second year. And like I said to you, for people to write him off now, I think it's 5 games in. Lee, I think, Lee, you mentioned it before. I think, Pete, you mentioned as well. 5 games in. People are so hypercritical. People are so... Go on.
Sorry, mate. I was going to say, you're not... Obviously, it's 5 games in that, but are you not massively concerned that from last season,
I'm massively concerned.
From last season's progress, right? From last season's progress, where you come third, you should have got better going into this season. You've got worse.
You've regressed. Yes, we have.
You've massively regressed.
The same things are happening with Man United. The same things is that Bruno Fernandez turns up when he
doesn't turn up.
He'll have some games where he'll turn up in a couple of assists, but then you'll get 4 or 5 games where he can't be bothered.
And Pete, for me,
the worst one of it all, Lee, just 1 second. The worst one of it all for me is Marcus Rashford. Marcus Rashford is so inconsistent.
He's a purple patch merchant he was last season. I said it.
When he plays well and he has a run like he did last season, we quite rightly talk about him on a level and saying, he's playing well, like he is one of the top in the game and he scored a lot of goals last season. But for me, He is so inconsistent. And I tell you what, for the goal that he scored against Arsenal, right, at the Emirates, and it was a good goal, fair play to him. For a lot of that game, did nothing.
Nothing.
And he's a leader in your team. And you guys need him. You guys kind of lean on him to make the difference. And because he's so inconsistent, it actually is the downfall to your team. The lack of work rate from your captain, the guy that you made captain in Bruno Fernandez, in midfield where you have to work the hardest, I think is another massive downfall. And then you throw Casemiro in there, who's not working as hard as he did last season. Massive downfall. And then you've got players like Lindelof that are still at Man United.
And Martial.
Still getting games at the club. Martial, who's never fit, still getting games at the club. And you look at it and you think, well, I'm not surprised. Diego Dalot was a Jose Mourinho signing. He's still getting games at Man United. Like,
you know, my
why
problem,
have these guys not been shipped out? They've been given opportunities to still play at the club. Now,
Tomine's still there.
I'm looking at this, and if this was my club, I'd be asking these questions. And Lewis Christie quite rightly said, Johnny Evans. How is he still getting a contract at Man United?
This is worked at the club, man. That's why he got a contract. Right? No, you know what it is here. I understand your points. I think for me, some of them are valid. Some of them are extreme. From Lee, I think the manager isn't, all of a sudden a rubbish manager anymore. I don't believe in that. I think for me, what's going on now, I think there's favoritism involved in this right now. The manager clearly leaves his balance. But what I also will say is, I think when we're kind of judging him a bit too soon, he hasn't got his full 11 out there this season. And I think for me, hold on a minute, man. It's not an excuse, but is it big factor as to why maybe he hasn't played the style of play that he's wanted? And that's where for me, Now hold on a minute. Let me finish Let me finish what I'm going to say. I think for me, once I start to see the Varane's back and the Mason Mount in terms of, again, I don't really rate Mason Mount. The Amrabat's coming and we have our full 11 and we're still playing the style of football that we're seeing right now. That's when I can say, you know what, Ten Hag, it's not working. And you know what? I think for me, it's looking sticky for you. But for us to kind of just say, you know what, I like Lee's and being so reactionary, I think, you know what, man, you've got to give him time to understand his struggles. Similar to the way other managers understand their struggles and they become better for it. So why can't Ten Hag do that? Ten Hag can turn this around. He can turn this around. I think he will.
The problems are deeper than just the manager, though. You could look in a ridiculous scenario. Let's say you got rid of Ten Hag. Those problems don't disappear. Like you're getting leaks at the club all the time. Leaks United, fucking statements FC. Like that's everywhere from top to bottom. It is an absolute mess. And I know that I can't say much about Chelsea right now because we're in a similar situation. But you cannot have a club like Man United where there's leaks coming out all over the place. There seems to be different standards for the ways that players are treated for doing the same sort of thing. The difference between the way that Sancho's been treated to the way that Anthony's been treated is a madness. It's a disgrace. Like there's no equal treatment. Manager seems to have favourites that he treats in a certain way. Could you imagine, right? Would he have done to Jadon Sancho? Would he have done that to Bruno Fernandez? No, he wouldn't have done that to Bruno Fernandez. So, do you know what I mean? So, like, there seems to be different standards for different players, leaks all over the place. Like, it needs to be sorted. It needs to be sorted out.
And again, like I said to you, it's similar at your club as well. Your club as well is similar. It's what? I reckon it's even worse. I'd rather at least with Manchester United, you could say, you know what, there's some sort of element of, you know what, Ten Hag, stronger manager at the minute, looks mentally, but Pochettino's coming after 5 games and he looks like he wants to be over. He looks stressed as hell. I'm not even lying to you guys. Like the job at Chelsea arguably is even more greater because you got guys at the top is lunatic, and you man are still waiting for here we goes. Like I see someone tweet, I'm not even lying to you. I see the countdown on Twitter to the January transfer window by a Chelsea fan. That's how much they are waiting for the season to get to the champ. They are in a mess.
I don't know what you think. I was going to say, I don't know what you think, Charlie, but I think I talked on Chelsea this season, and I wasn't quite sure what I was going to get from Chelsea this season. A lot of people were saying, Chelsea are going to be back up there challenging top 4, maybe for the Premier League because of the players signing. You kind of expect that. Yeah. But I'm looking at that team, even with the money that you spent, I'm thinking, actually, from what I thought, the job might need longer than
it's not a team.
I
It's
even
not a team.
anticipated. You're the same. You same thought.
Yeah, it's not a team. It's not a team. Like you can tell. Like, yeah, we should have got more points on the board from the first 5 games than we have. Absolutely. Like there's like, you know, all these new players coming in, young players, consistency, need to develop an understanding. Those are valid points, but the quality we've had out on the pitch is more than enough to beat Nottingham Forest at home, and it's more than enough to beat Bournemouth away from home. So like I do have some concerns, but the underlying numbers are good on our performances. And if you, I don't expect you guys to have watched Chelsea in detail like myself, but we create a lot of chances in these games and we just don't finish them, which has been the same problem for a number of years. So I'm not, if I was sitting here and we were getting outplayed every week and we weren't creating any chances, I'd be much more concerned. I don't think we're a million miles away from moving our way up the table and knocking on the door for those Champions League spots this season.
I agree.
We just need to find our shooting boots, because if you actually watch Chelsea on an underlying level, the numbers are good and we create a lot of chances. The only thing that's missing is putting the ball in the net. Defensively, we're good, and I think in midfield we're all right. And going forward, there's a lack of understanding between the players.
Importantly, when you saw the game against West Ham, pretty much you dominated that game and you should have scored at least one, and you missed a penalty. You missed a penalty. I think the Bournemouth game, again, you weren't poor, but you just don't have that cutting edge up front. And I think the problem with the main difference between Man United and Chelsea is, I think with the players that are coming in, with Chelsea, the ones that are out, I think they will make such a big difference to you. Not winning a lot more games, or all the games, sorry, but winning a lot more games. With Man United, I look at your squad and I look at your team and I look at your manager and the setup and all of these things, and I look at it and I'm like, I don't see anything that is going to have a real improvement over the course of the season to help you do anything. I think it's going to be a fight for you to finish top 4 now, and I think it's going to be a fight for you to win anything. And ultimately, my main problem with Ten Hag is there's a way to lose, and you're losing by getting battered by teams on the pitch, game in and game out. So,
but what I would say though, I'll just quickly say, side, like for a Chelsea perspective, like I got hammered for this. I can't remember where I said it. It's either my channel on Chelsea Fan TV. That I actually think that I'd rather be in Chelsea's position right now rather than Man United's position, purely based on the fact, right, immediate short term. Perhaps United are slightly better. There's a point between us and the table. But how many players at Man United are still going to be in that team in 3 or 4 years? Probably none. How many players at Chelsea are going to be there in 3 or 4 years? Take out Thiago Silva, maybe Raheem Sterling. But the bulk of them are all still going to be there. And we're going to be another 3 years down the line with this team. And it should be a serious team. Whereas you're going to have to be starting again. So for a long-term situation, and even just right now, I would rather be in Chelsea's position, because I think we've got the
copium. Is that copium?
No,
is that copium?
Maybe a little bit, but I think if you look at it on the level though, like not many of your team is going to be playing for you still in 3 or 4 years' time, whereas most of ours probably still will.
Are you sure? Because of how many players left last summer? Koulibaly left. How many players left?
That was the clear out though. This is the new squad now.
Oh. Hey, I don't know. You might see Caicedo leaving in the summer. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know what's going on. Nobody knows what's going on at Chelsea.
It's a good point, because a lot of those Chelsea players are coming in. They're at a good age. They're a good age.
21, 20.
They can build. They can build with the current manager and the current club. I did say that Pochettino would get it right. For me, he's a good manager. I like what he does, but I think he might have gone in there and gone, this job might be a little bit bigger than I even thought it might be. But you're right. I think they've got the group of players there that it consistently play together over a 2 or 3 year period, that you might see that upturn. But like I said, you've got a fair few aging players at Man United, players that in 3 or 4 years you probably wouldn't expect to still be at the club, and if they are, you'd probably be asking the question why. Say, to be fair, so
I would say, Said, like the only difference between between us is the fact that you've got some attackers that can put the ball in the net. We haven't got that. That is the only difference. I actually think on the fundamental level, we are a better team than you defensively, and we're better in midfield. You just got some attackers that can put the ball in the net, whereas we don't right now. And that is the only difference.
Yeah, absolutely. But listen, big game for Chelsea, big game for everyone this weekend, man. And like I said to you, we will be here next week on the show again, Premier League debate show. A couple of super chat for wrap up. Big up to Aaron STG. Says he's right. We're always scrambling for transfer. Man United is always looking for short-term fixes and not invested in the youth. Glazers out. Yeah, no, spot on, man. I don't disagree with that 100%, man. Is speaking facts there. Diraj says Lee never said Maddison doesn't play well. He said he'll go missing when it matters. Again, I still disagree with that one. There's so many games last season where I thought, you know what, it was a reason why Leicester hadn't even a chance of reaching, getting out of the relegation zone. So I think for me, he's a top player, Maddison, man. So it is what it is. But guys, I don't even think we've even hit 500 likes, man. That's wild, man. I don't know what's going on today, people. Why you guys are not liking the video? Like, I don't understand. Have we done something wrong? Has Lee waffled too much that you haven't bothered to like the video? I don't know, man. Lee, I think that might be, you need to start telling him, man, like, I won't stop waffling if you know what I mean, like the video.
Bro, I think you just need to start learning the truth, man. The quicker you do, that's what it is, man. I think you're upset because it's your team, but man, I'll be honest, I think you're in a big problem.
Well, you're telling me to learn Chinese? Is that what you're trying to say? You must learn Chinese. Is that what you're saying?
Listen, man. Listen. I'm about to have a Chinese downstairs, but I don't know about anything else.
Hey, come on. That's what we're saying, man. He's feasting already. The game's not even started and he's already having a Chinese, bro. It's mad in the dunya. But listen, big up to Dax and Errol, who was on the show. Make sure you follow them. Big up to Pete, Loaded Mag. Big up to you. What you got coming up on your channel, man? Anything coming up?
Yeah, lots coming up. We're at Bramall Lane, Sheffield United away Sunday, so there'll be a reaction show. Lots of shows coming on next week. We've got Man City in the Carabao Cup Wednesday. So the big games,
forgot about that.
Yeah, the big games keep coming. The big games keep coming. Then we've got Burnley, and then we've got PSG in the Champions League. So it's all coming. Loads of shows planned, loads of little shows in between. So come and subscribe to the channel and give us a watch.
Yeah, man. Make sure you do that, people, man. Lee, it's been a pleasure, bro. Always love, man. You get me, even though you rattle a lot of people, but come on, man. This is what you do on this channel, innit? Come on.
Yeah, listen, man. Make sure you guys go to AFTV. The one of the latest videos, I am literally on there with Robbie and a couple of other guys talking about the North London derby. So yeah, there's two videos. One coming out tomorrow morning, I believe, at 12 o'clock midday, and there's one out already. So yeah, big stuff.
Come on, man. Come on. We love that. We love that. And make sure you follow up Charlie, man. Brew Brothers, CFC. Big up to you, my guy.
Yeah, no, thank you, bro. Yeah, mate, we've got lots coming. Mate, we've got 2 games next week. We're in Carabao Cup action as well. Wednesday night, got Brighton at home. It's gonna be a tough one. Obviously, got Villa Sunday. So yeah, loads of stuff coming up, mate. Yeah, so if you want to check it out, not too far away from 7K now. So if anyone wants to help me on the way, then feel free.
Come on. No, make sure you do that, people. Make sure you do that. Guys, I'll be back tomorrow. Watch along at Burnley. Yeah, it's going to be a good one,
Is that 7 p.m. kickoff? The late one?
8 p.m, man. Why? I don't know why.
Saturday. That's mad.
Yeah, man. That's awful, man. I can't stand these kickoff times, man. I think we play Sheffield United as well in a couple of weeks. Similar kickoff time as well, man. So just please, man, give me my 3 p.m. kickoffs. You see me, yeah? Saturday, 3 p.m. Give me that every week, man.
Have you seen that? They're looking at changing it. They're looking at
6:30 on Sunday as well.
Yeah, I heard Sunday. They're looking at game on 6 p.m. on a Sunday. They're saying
6:30 on a Sunday.
One thing we know for sure. One thing we know for sure. Whatever time, Man United are going to get slapped.
And you know what? On that note, see you later. We're out, people. Take care. Bye-bye. Peace.